Today we're going to be doing the very first garden tour of the summer. But first, we need to plant these guys. Some of you might remember that I am a bit of an absent-minded gardener, and I forgot to water my peppers, and I lost most of them. I was able to pick some up through Living Traditions Homestead. They sell them at my local farmer's market, and I was able to get some Sugar Rush peach and jalapenos, but that wasn't enough for me. All of my hot peppers died. So today I went into town to pick up some chicken feed, and while I was there, I was driving by a new nursery that is in my local town here, and I was like, all right, I'm finally gonna stop today. And I did not think that they would have these, but they had a bunch of hot peppers, and I'm super excited about it. And since, of course, I don't do anything normally or in normal quantities, I picked up an entire flat, a 48 to be exact. Some of you that have been with me for a while understand my obsession with heat. My husband and I both have that's him actually. My husband and I both actually have a very high love of heat. We love things to be very spicy, and things that most people find like burning your face off, we're just like meh. So it's a local nursery, so of course they don't have the ones that are like insane, like the like Scotch bonnets, or that's not even my cat. I'm not entirely sure what to name her, but she is sort of a stray. She actually came from one of our neighbors down at the bottom of the hill. She's an older gal, and she had dementia, and so she ended up going to a home, and her cat, which I just found out a couple weeks ago, that is her cat, has apparently decided to adopt us, and she's the sweetest thing ever. She was incredibly feral in the beginning, and now, as you can see, she loves attention and food. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen because I'm trying to see her. So anyways, if you guys got a name for her, she's incredibly beautiful. So if y'all got any name ideas, let me know. I would be very, I would like that. I've just been calling her Brown Cat. At any rate, they did have habaneros. So I was able to pick up a couple of habaneros, but these ones are not gonna go in the ground. I'm gonna put those in a pot, because at least when we lived in Washington, we had to overwinter them to get any kind of harvest off of them. So I'm gonna plant them in pots, hoping that we can do the same thing, overwinter them, and then we'll get a harvest next year. I was also able to get Tabasco, so you know that is gonna be a fermentation project later in the year. I got a bunch of cayenne pepper, some serrano peppers. That is one that hubby really enjoys, so I made sure to get a few of those. Hot banana peppers, and those ones are already those ones already have fruit on it. There was two other ones I thought I got. I thought I got a Big Jim, which I don't see here. I must have missed that one, and I don't remember what the other one I thought I got was. So anyways, let's get to planting, shall we? And for those who saw last week's garden tour, yes, this is the spot that I was going to plant my herbs in, until I realized I only have one, oregano, so it's getting peppers. I think I forgot to mention cherry bell. I also got cherry bell peppers. As you can see, I got these all planted. They are peppers, so my understanding is they do like to be planted fairly close together. So that's what I did here. All I have left are the Tabasco and the habaneros. The Tabascos I'm gonna put in another bed, and like I said, the habaneros are gonna go in pots. So let's go take a little tour, shall we? Up here, obviously we got all the peppers. And then over here, I have all of the cherry tomatoes and brown cat. And then here, since the last garden tour, I planted zucchinis at the end there and there. And I'll probably put some of the Tabasco here, either that or oregano. I haven't decided. And then on the other side over here, we have some sorely diseased comfreys. They're being riddled with pests. But I stopped before I could finish planting the peppers because we are losing daylight, and I want to make sure I can finish the tour before daylight ends, at least as far as cameras are concerned, because I can see better than you can. So after this, I'm going to finish planting the rest of those peppers, except the habaneros. I still need to figure out where I'm going to put the habaneros, but in these beds here, I'm going to put a bunch of cucumbers, arching on either side, and then I'll probably put the rest of the Tabascos on the outside of that. That's kind of it for this upper garden. And down here, you can see that's where we were. This is where this is. This is just 2 long, windy rows, and I filled these in with a bunch of different types of squash. We have Illinois squash, Pennsylvania Dutch. We got some of the Tahitian melon squash. All 3 of those guys sprouted. And that is also what that is. Here is a zucchini. That one's not wintered. But just kind of all along here, about every 3 feet, I threw some in. They're mostly butternut because I'm told that butternut is more resistant to squash bugs. And then over here across the road, I don't know if I can see any of them sprouted yet because it was a very poor choice on my part. I planted some trap crops of blue hovered over here. And then I just realized today it's in the shade. So I'm gonna have to plant another one somewhere else. Maybe like over here, somewhere that gets some sun. But the squashes are starting to sprout. I'm super pumped about that. Most of the piles have at least 1 sprout. I did 3 seeds in each one, and I figure with the amount of room that I have here, I'm probably gonna leave 2 of them and just let them do their winter squash thing, you know? And then in this bed, there's potatoes at the end, and then hubby planted soybeans here. We're just gonna kind of wait it out and see which ones sprout. Whichever ones don't, we'll replace them with something else. And then this bed, that one, and that one, these are all bush beans. Hubby planted those ones. They're doing pretty darn well. Getting a few pests, but nothing crazy. This one was some failed potatoes. We have 2 that sprouted. These are hogweed, pigweed. Can't remember what they're called, but those were getting pulled and then getting replaced most likely with just some bush style cucumbers. And then here's some potatoes. Some more regular potatoes. This spot here is open, and I'm gonna plant something here as well as along the side here. This is south facing. And then we have some kind of miserable looking sweet potatoes. They were a little bit late to the game, but we're gonna give them a go, see if we can get anything out of it, maybe get some more slips for next year. And then the end here, that is also open. Throw something in there. And then just right behind it, we have some pretty darn productive sunchokes, or what's the other word? Jerusalem artichokes. So, and then down here, hubby also planted beans here at the same time as those 3 other beds, but nothing's coming up yet. So if nothing comes up, probably in a week or so, I'll plant something in there. And this one is a bunch of rotted potatoes. You can see them. They did not do well. So I'm gonna plant something in there. See this cat. Telling you, she's been all up in my garden space. Also, since the last garden tour, I planted this whole, it's 3-4 cattle panels, so it's 16 feet long. I planted. You are such a ham. Come on, get out of my garden, girl. Come on, stay out of there. But in here, not listening. Along here, along the edge, girl. Oh my gosh, gardening with cats. Seriously, no, I'm not playing with you. Come on, stay out of my garden. Seriously, girl. You're driving me nuts. There, go on. But along the part that is attached to the cattle panels here, I planted all different types of melons all the way along on both sides, and then the strip here is a bunch of flowers. I got like zinnias. Girl, you are on top of a melon. Get. I don't even remember, honestly, what I planted here. It's just a bunch of flowers. Zinnias, definitely. I think I did some asters, just all kinds of stuff. I didn't tag them because I was like, I'll remember. And then here on the 2 sides here, I did 2 different types of melons. And then in the center, I did zucchinis on either side. And then strip down the middle of more flowers. And same thing here. I just did melons on the sides so that they can just sprawl, and then zucchinis kind of along the edge, and then in the center just a bunch of flowers. And one thing that I'm very excited about that I don't think I told you guys about in the last vlog But I got the last of the tomatoes planted. There is a total of 136. Yes, 136 tomatoes. And here tomorrow, so in next week's vlog, I'll show you, we're gonna cattle panel these two rows. It's technically 4 rows because as you can see, there's 2 on either side. So we need, and I made sure to stop, that's why it stopped short right here, because I measured 16 feet. Well, I didn't measure, I just looked, and you can see where the cattle panel's in. So over here, I'm gonna throw in flowers, zucchinis, whatever floats my boat, really. I'm really starting to get super excited. I mentioned in the last vlog that I'd kind of gotten a little bit sidetracked with the fermenting thing, and I was gonna kind of pull back on that, and I'm gonna kind of pull back on it more than I had intended. I was really starting to get super overwhelmed, and I was starting to, I don't really have the ability to necessarily multitask on several large projects, several long-term large projects. I can multitask pretty dang good. I got ADHD, so it's, but anyways, so I don't have the ability to, I just don't have the ability to. So I had looked into what it would take to sell at markets, to be able to sell in stores, stuff like that, to sell at markets in my big city. It's different regulations there, and there's a lot that goes into it. You have to go on a trip to like Columbia, Missouri. It's a 3-day class that you have to take. It costs like $800, and then you have to get like certified as this, you know, special food preparer, I don't know what it is. And so that's $800 just for the class, plus the cost of the trip, the place you have to stay and all that stuff. And then when you're done with the class, you have to draft up procedures, very detailed, weighted, like everything exactly to the detail of every single recipe, and you can never alter it. If you do alter it, you have to redo the whole process again for every single recipe, and then you have to take that finished product and have it tested. And there's a chance that that won't even work. So I may end up still taking the class just so that is an option, but for the most part, I'm kind of just going to chill at my local market and just do things kind of chill, just as a way to meet people, be a part of the community, stuff like that. So I've kind of redirected my attention, and I'm just gonna be putting out a bunch more content and doing it in different ways as well. I am attempting to figure out how to do a little bit more Instagram and Facebook stuff like that. I've started kind of reposting some of my more favorite videos over on Facebook. So if you guys want to check that out, and I'm also going to be posting the YouTube videos over there as they come out. Instead of just doing like the YouTube link, I'll actually post it to Facebook. And then I'm also, as I mentioned last time, I'm working on getting my website up and running, and I'm working on a course, cookbook, you know, just kind of really delving into teaching fermentation, showing people, making it more accessible to normal people like me. So that's my goal, at least. But anyways, I just figured I'd share with you. It's kind of a little bit even further sidetracked than I thought it would be, because it might be something I'll try and tackle next year, but it's not something that brings me the joy that it did in the beginning. I kind of got carried away in my head, and I was like, oh, I can make a business out of this. And I was like, I didn't stop to think, do I want to make a business out of this? You know, I was just like, I could. Do I want to? Is it something that brings me long-term joy? As opposed to like making videos, I love it. I've been doing it for 5 years, and I still love it. So, you know, can I? Yes. Do I want to? At least not right now. So anyways, back to the garden. These are 4 eggplants. I have no idea what variety, but they are not doing great. They're not happy. However, the tomatillos are busting. Busting? What do the cool kids say? I don't know. I'm not one of them. But the tomatillos are fantastic. If you guys have never tried planting tomatillos, you are making a mistake. This is the most prolific bee magnet plant I have ever come across. This thing, you can literally walk past it and you will hear a low rumble of buzzing coming from this when it starts to really bush out. Even if you don't like tomatillos, number 1, I encourage you to try different recipes, and number 2, plant it anyway, because the bees will thank you. And then we also have just a ton of peppers, and no, I did not top them off. We had some kind of something came through and mowed down several of them, but they are definitely still coming back, and we're getting tons of fruit. We have Craig's Grande. We have a bunch of jalapenos. We have a bunch up by the house as well. And then these ones are, something really got them last night. These are even worse than they were last time I looked at them. So I might have to do something, fence these in and figure out some way, because I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 that are pretty eaten down, but still recoverable. And honestly, it's not really a big deal because they will just bush out, which is a technique that a lot of people actually use to get more production. Instead of kind of growing up straight like a tomato when you're clipping them off, like they'll just bush out more and they'll come up with a lot more stems growing up. So a lot of people actually prefer that method. So these ones are doing great. I think we'll be getting some Sugar Rush peach peppers pretty soon. And these guys behind me, all these tomatoes, I think since the last time we spoke, I got them all strung up. They are all attached. They are all single stemmed. There's a couple that had a little bit more space between them, so I went ahead and let them have two main trunks. But you can see, getting plenty of fruits. Over here, the cherry tomatoes. I'm definitely happy about that over here. And then right over here, most of them are doing great. We got one that is sure definitely dead, not even there anymore. And then we have a couple that they're still hanging in there, but not necessarily doing great. And then several that are doing beautifully. And then in the other area of the garden, down there is just a ton of potatoes. I may as well go show you, all right? This area here, Robert already harvested quite a lot of them. There's still some left, but they're definitely not growing the way they should, unfortunately. But these ones down here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 full beds of potatoes, and they don't look like they have any end in sight, so those are doing really great. That one down there was also potatoes, but it's not doing as good. So I think that one's probably gonna get freed up at some point soon. And then we got, Robert planted that little bed of shallots. And then here was supposed to be garlic. We definitely planted that one too late, so lesson learned. We're gonna start planting them in the fall. And we already have our seed potatoes, or seed garlic, so as long as they don't start sprouting before now in October, we'll throw them on the ground. The mullein plant, you can't tell, but it's a solid foot taller than me. Look at this thing. There's 2 of them. Holy smokes. We have a ton of mullein plants throughout the property. Ooh, this one's even getting side shoots. But I think these ones are probably the best of them that we have. Tomorrow is supposed to be like low 90s, high 80s. And then the 2 days following that is going to be 102. It's supposed to be crazy. So not looking forward to that, nor I'm sure will the animals be. But up here we have those are tomatoes. We have a bunch of tomatoes that we planted. These are ones that I also got from Living Traditions. So these ones all got in the ground significantly ahead of the other ones because they were mosquitoes everywhere. So these ones got a big head start, and they have decided to bush out, and Robert and I decided we're just going to do an experiment. Instead of trellising them, we're going to see what happens when they bush. About 8 plants, so we'll see how they do. It looks like, ooh, does this one or no? What is this one? For a minute I was thinking it was supposed to be that color. So it's not quite ready, but we're getting them, and these things are crazy. They're all just shooting off. I'm not trimming them up. I'm not doing anything. We're just kind of letting them be. And then we have all of these beautiful peppers. Looks like these are all jalapenos, and they're just doing beautifully, making big old giant peppers. Last time we were talking, I can't remember if this had happened yet or not, but armadillos found my radishes. So my video that I had planned of doing a harvest to fermenting kind of video cannot happen anymore. At least not this time of year. So we do still have some. After they came through the second night, I plucked up everything that was of reasonable size, and our beans are doing beautifully. I'm not going to jinx myself by saying it out loud, but I'm pretty happy. And they're just putting off a ton of beans. All of them are just doing beautifully so far. Very, very, very prolific varieties. Lots of flowers, lots of beans. So There will be, however, be dilly bean recipes coming up. And then we got some purple varieties. Looks like they're mostly still flowering. I don't see any purple ones on this one. Yeah, this one is a little bit behind, but it's going to catch up. Same thing with this purple one. Oh, I see a bean. I see a bean. I see a little baby bean. And then we got this cucumber that before I noticed it had quite extensively wrapped its tendrils. Oh, we got big ones under here. Wrapped its tendrils around my beans. So this is going to be a bush. I was planning on it not, but it is. There's a couple of them there. And then on the other side over here, I kind of redirected them towards the lattice here. So hopefully it will grow up the lattice, and maybe we can kind of train it to go down or up, I guess that would be. Oh, and then we have blueberry bushes that died and elderberries that are hanging in there. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you will consider checking out this video right here. It is last time's garden tour. You'll be able to catch up on all the things you might have missed. Peace out, sauerkraut.